17 seconds of silence. That was all it took for Lisa Bluder, head coach of Iowa women's basketball and the winningest coach in Big Ten history. The all-time winningest coach for the Iowa women's basketball program said she wants to continue, leading her players for a few more years. To make the room hold its breath, the question was simple. What is Caitlin Clark's legacy at Iowa? The answer that finally came was not about points, records, or sold-out arenas. It was about a brilliance too intense to contain, instincts quicker than any playbook, and a fire so powerful it could consume everything around it. For 24 years, Bluder had seen it all, but nothing prepared her for the 4 seasons with Clark. This is the story behind the numbers, behind the highlights, behind the legend, the story of determination, brilliance, and the making of greatness. And it all begins with a phone call that almost never happened. Think you know your favorite players? Let's put your basketball IQ to the test. Quiz. How long was the silence before Lisa Bluder answered the question about Caitlin Clark's legacy? A 5 seconds, B 10 seconds, C 17 seconds, D 25 seconds. Think you've got it? Leave a comment and see if you're right. The call that changed everything. Caitlin Clark was going to Notre Dame. It was decided. The family had made the choice. She was Catholic, raised in West Des Moines, Iowa. Well, new at 5, we all know that Caitlin Clark has earned many major awards. Rudy was her favorite movie. Notre Dame was the dream. She had given her verbal commitment to Muffet McGraw, one of the most decorated coaches in the history of women's college basketball. Everything was set. The paperwork was nearly complete. But something did not feel right. Clark could not sleep. She would lie awake at night, turning the decision over in her mind. And every time she tried to feel excited about South Bend, her chest tightened instead. Her family wanted Notre Dame. Her faith pointed to Notre Dame. Every logical sign said, Notre Dame, but her instincts were pulling her somewhere else entirely. The truth was, Clark's original dream school had been UConn. She wanted to play for Gino Auriemma. She wanted to be a Husky. But UConn had already committed to Paige Buchers, and they did not offer Clark a scholarship. That rejection stayed with her. Years later, it would become one of the most significant non-decisions in the history of women's basketball because the door that closed in Storrs, Connecticut, opened another in Iowa City. And behind that door was Lisa Bluder, the moment you've been waiting for. Here comes the answer. Perfect. C. Were you correct? Let me know if your guess in the comments was right. Clark made the call to McGraw first. She was nervous. McGraw was a commanding presence, a legend of the game, and Clark was an 18-year-old preparing to tell her she had changed her mind. But McGraw handled it with grace. She had sensed the hesitation, likely seen it during their conversations. Great. Coaches understand when a recruit's heart is not fully committed. McGraw accepted the decommitment without bitterness. Then Clark picked up the phone and called Lisa Bluder. Bluder was at dinner with her husband, Dave. Years later, she could still remember every detail of that moment. The restaurant, the table, the way her phone buzzed in her pocket. She stepped outside to take the call, and on the other end was Caitlin Clark asking the question that would change everything. Right here. She explodes, makes the backdoor pass. Coach, is there still a spot? Do you want me to come to Iowa? Bluder tried to remain composed, to keep her voice steady. Absolutely. Of course there's a spot. She returned inside, told Dave what had just happened, and ordered a bottle of champagne. But she had no idea that the young player on the other end of that call was about to become the greatest challenge of her 40-year coaching career. Because Caitlin Clark, the 4th-ranked prospect in the country, from Dowling Catholic High School in West Des Moines, AP Gatorade Player of the Year, the player who carried every game on her shoulders and took every decisive shot, was about to enter a college program and discover that everything she understood about basketball would need to be reshaped from within. The stubborn brilliance and the technical fouls. The challenge appeared almost immediately, not in the usual sense. Clark was exceptional in summer practices. Bluder told Clark's father, Brent, at a golf fundraiser that Caitlin was performing at a high level, and she meant it. The talent was undeniable. The court vision was extraordinary. The shooting range was remarkable. But a pattern was forming that Bluder recognized from years of experience, and it concerned her. Clark did not fully trust her teammates. At Dowling, Catholic, she had been the focal point. Every play ran through her. Every decision was hers. She carried the team, and it worked because she was far ahead of everyone else. That level of individual dominance had been effective. College was different. Iowa had Monica Chinano, a dominant post presence. Kate Martin, a versatile and intelligent forward. Gabby Marshall, a reliable shooter. McKenna Warnock, a consistent contributor. All of them needed involvement. All of them needed opportunities. But Clark's mindset was different. I'll do it. I'll handle it. I'll take the team there. It was a Michael Jordan-like mentality, and Bluder understood from reading Phil Jackson's Sacred Hoops where that path could lead without the right guidance. Practice became the testing ground. Iowa used managers as referees during scrimmages, and those managers lacked full officiating experience. Mistakes happened, and when they did, Clark reacted strongly. During one scrimmage against the Blue Squad, a questionable call pushed her beyond her limit. Emotions rose. A confrontation followed. Bluder, observing from the sideline, made a defining decision. She removed Caitlin Clark from practice in front of everyone. Out. Now. Years later on the Fresh Talk podcast with Jada Gyamphy, Clark reflected on it alongside teammates Kate Martin and Gabby Marshall. They all remembered it clearly. I think we used our crowd. But, we knew we gave up a 10-run to start. The corner. But this team was never flustered, and I think that just speaks to our experience. When asked why she was removed, Clark answered honestly. Because she had been arguing with the Blue Squad. Marshall and Martin added what everyone understood. She wants to win. She dislikes losing. That is where the intensity comes from. But Bluder recognized something essential that many coaches might overlook. This was not disrespect. This was passion. And passion must be directed, not suppressed. Clark would leave, regain composure, and return for the next drill. The pattern continued. Over time, the reactions shortened, the recovery improved, but the intensity remained. And Bluder never wanted it to disappear. She only needed it guided, properly. Technical fouls became an ongoing joke within the program. Officials during practice scrimmages were sometimes hesitant to call them on Clark because of her status, so Bluder would call them herself from the sideline, the head coach issuing a technical foul to her own player. In March 2024, before the Sweet 16, Bluder spoke about it openly. The same emotion she shows in games, the passion, the highs, the lows, it's the same in practice. When officials don't want to call technicals, I will do it from the bench because we need to help her stay composed. Clark responded with a smile when asked about it. That hasn't happened in a while. Her teammates laughed. Everyone understood how frequent it once was. The stubbornness extended beyond the court.